What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to The Truth, where today we're going to be talking about the New England Patriots and their offseason coverage. So, firstly, I kind of want to talk about the season they had and what they've kind of done to change up things. So, last year they went 9, and this year they went 4-13. Now, with going 4-13, they did fire their head coach, and they did bring a new head coach and bring in some new coaching staff requirements too. So they have changed some of their front office. A big thing was the fact that they didn't like how Belichick was trying to run things, so they wanted to bring in someone else who wouldn't run things the same way, as in trying to be the head coach and the general manager. They just wanted a head coach. So getting into the draft, I was able to address every starter and one backup. So they have 3 depth pieces they need still, based off of having positions they need to fill prior to the signing of practice squad guys. I don't count practice squad guys because most of the time you don't want practice squad guys to be actually on your team and be depth. You want them on the practice squad just in case or for development. But starting out, I did something a little different. I know a lot of people do go quarterback to the Patriots. Now, it isn't a position that they need to fill body wise, but it's a position they want to address. Now, there are rumors that the Patriots might go after a quarterback in free agency as well. So that's kind of why I'm kind of hesitant to drafting one. We'll see later as it goes down, kind of how the quarterback market falls, because there are 2 quarterbacks right now, or that look, someone's going to offer them a starting job. So we'll see. It's going to be really interesting. But starting out, I decided to go Joe Alt with the 3rd pick, offensive tackle out of Notre Dame. I feel like this really helps build this roster to actually make it easier for the quarterback to contribute to this offense. This is one of the worst offenses in the league last year. They struggled a lot. So I did want to immediately help them out. So I want tackle, like I said before, out of Notre Dame, Joe Alt. Arguably the best tackle in the draft. With the 2nd pick, then the 2nd round, pick 34, I went offensive tackle Troy Fautanu. But Fautanu is actually going to move to guard in this draft and fill that role for them. Troy Fautanu is projected as one of the better guards, arguably the best guard, if he converts or if a team converts him in this draft. So it's really nice that you get arguably the best tackle and arguably the best guard in this draft. These are both physical, super athletic guys who will be great foundations for this team. With the 3rd pick 68, I took Rook Aurora, defensive tackle of Clemson. This is a guy who was a defensive tackle / end roll, a big guy, 295, 6'4", with an RAS score or a relative athletic score of 9.87. That is insane. Like we kind of expected and we saw on tape, great length, really explosive, really strong, and pursuits really well and has a nice closing burst. So this is a guy who you kind of want to help out that pass rush for New England. With the 4th pick, with pick 104, I went Josh Newton, cornerback out of TCU. Newton, he isn't the tallest, but he is 188. This is a guy who can put on some weight and move better. One thing you like to see is he doesn't panic. He's technical and he hunts the ball really well, and he uses his length to swap passes, which is really nice to see. He has great change of direction, and can stay really nice and tight to the hip pocket of receivers. He has the physical tools, but you'd like him to be a bit bigger, just because he is relatively skinny at 188. That's pretty light for a corner nowadays. Another pick I chose was tight end Jared Wiley out of TCU. He's 6'6", 260, big guy. He's a nice blocker, but he's huge. He is that. Who would I compare him to? He'd be more like the He'd be like a. If I can pull it up here. He'd be more like a Jimmy Graham if you get that type of feel. Like that's how big he is. That's the type of feel you get for him. If he really developed his route tree, I could see him kind of play that type of role. I'm not saying he is going to be Jimmy Graham, but you could see him play that role like how he played in New Orleans. Um, Other than that, I mean, look, it's a great pickup for a guy who's has basically all the athletic skills that you need. He just needs to refine his technique. And at pick 136, I don't see why you don't try to see if you can get a guy like that. I mean, look, New England has had a very good um, experience with drafting tight ends, and hopefully Jared Wiley is the same. At pick 182, I chose Tommy Etchenberg linebacker out of Ohio State, 6'2", 235. Guy who had a great senior year. Really good. Has lots of tackles. Gets in the backfield for tackles for loss. Has gotten a couple sacks, a pick, and deflects passes. So not only does he fit the run, but he also plays the pass decently too. This is a guy who has a nice pursuit as well and can fill gaps. So this is kind of your all-around linebacker that you like to see that the Patriots can have and to help fortify that defense. With pick 190, I finished out the starters with drafting them another tackle. Garrett Greenfield, this is just a really athletic guy. Someone who you can mold, someone you can find later in the rounds and try to mold to be a nice tackle for you. With the last pick, I chose linebacker Omar out of LSU, 6'1", 235. Another guy who I've talked about on this draft. Another guy who I've talked about on this channel. Guy who transferred to LSU. Kind of some people see him as a sleeper. Nice strength. Disrupts blocks really well and is a good tackler. He also has slight burst and a little bit of range. His his coverages aren't too bad, but I mean it's a late round pick, and hopefully you can kind of maybe hit on a sleeper guy who kind of shocks you with how well he is and can kind of transition quicker than you expect for a later round pick. Getting into it, firstly, getting into the biggest news so far. Today, Kyle Duggar was hit with a transition tag, costing the Patriots around a little under $14 million, 13.815 to be exact. So this really is able to get Kyle Duggar to the Patriots and kind of fill that strong safety role, that they needed. But it's nice because you also have about $78.5 million left to play with. So there's a lot of things the Patriots can do to kind of fill out this roster while still going up and trading and getting, or maybe trading up in the draft again, or maybe sitting and picking and really filling out this roster. Taking out a peek at some of the things they could do while this loads. If I go to New England, 2024, let me update. They have a lot of picks. Now with the transition tag, you can be able to change that into a full-length contract, which is possible, and restructure and do how you want. That's possible. But there are a couple things they could do. A couple picks they could go. They could bring back maybe Ezekiel Elliott or Kendrick Bourne. I could see that as kind of a depth piece, kind of sign a long-term depth, which would be nice. I could see that. Trent Brown kind of fortifying your right tackle is a possibility. You could resign tight end Hunter Henry or resign Josh Ertz. Outside linebacker isn't necessarily a position they could relatively need to go after, but is something if they want, they could address. Miles Bryant, if they want to resign a cornerback, that'd be nice to have because you do lose. They did cut their They did cut J.C. Jackson, and then of course Mike Owanu, guard for them. It'd be nice to have an experienced guard who's been under a similar system and know kind of what they're doing and how he's experienced in the NFL. And of course Kyle Duggar, who they will be working on to figure out a contract for. One of the things I kind of see kind of immediately that I wouldn't be surprised about is Michael Wanu, signing him to a long-term deal. His market value is about $13.5 million. So if I highlight that, and then if I did quick math, it would leave the Patriots with roughly about $65 million left to play with, which is a lot of cap for them. They have a lot of options. And I'm not saying they necessarily will re-sign these guys. They could go in free agency and address the same positions. With that being said, you do knock out starting guard for you, which is nice. You don't have to address that now. Something else I could see is if they really like Miles Bryant and they want to sign him to a starter deal. I don't necessarily know. I'm not really going to dive into that because I haven't really watched the film on Miles Bryant. I don't know where they feel about him. Same thing with Josh Church. I don't know if they really want to go that lane, but they could. Hunter Henry is a very liable option if you want to kind of fill that hole real quickly and then maybe draft a guy in the draft because they do need two tight ends. They need a starting tight end and a depth tight end. So maybe signing Hunter Henry and then drafting a guy could also be an option, which in this case I will do. And his contract is roughly about $7.5 million. So that will bring him to about $57 million left in the cap, which is still an insane amount that they can actually maneuver with. Trent Brown, I could very well see them re-signing Trent Brown and kind of giving him a nice contract so that way you have your starting right tackle. Even though he is a little bit older, he does bring that veteran experience so that way you don't have two rookie tackles in this year. That's Trent Brown. And he'll cost you about $7 million. And that will bring you roughly around $50 million. So to be exact, you'd have $50,038,644 left. Another guy who they could necessarily go after would be Kendrick Bourne. Like I said before, Kendrick Bourne could be a guy who you kind of want to bring back and be quality depth for you, which I could see, or fight for a starting job as well. I could also see that. And he's going to cost you about $5 million, which isn't bad for a backup. It's not bad for an experienced backup nowadays. So, I mean, and plus you do have the cap. It costs you about, like I said before, about $5 million. Okay, so that would bring them to roughly around $45 million, exactly $45,152,811 left in cap, which is a lot. I mean, they could bring back Zeke. I wouldn't be surprised if they let him go. Pharaoh Brown, he's kind of would be that depth for you, but like I said, I don't see them really re-signing two tight ends to a 1-year deal. That's possible, but I don't really see that happening. I think they'd more likely go sign a guy or they'd go draft a tight end. And like I said before, they still have plenty of cap left. They have $45 million. So this isn't it. Like they can do a lot more and we'll just have to see. I'm really excited to see what they're going to do in their offseason. But with that being said, like I said before, I didn't fill out their cap. They still have a lot left for it. But getting into this new mock draft with what we kind of have, with the information we kind of have, um, I can do a live mock draft. And like I said before, don't really know what the Patriots if they want to go in free agency because they have the cap to actually go get the top quarterback if they wanted to, or they could draft one. That's really up to them. But like I said before, I'll be continuing with Joe Alt in this draft to fill out their tackle room. We could go Byron Murphy. That could be an option. Another option. Actually, I think I will go Byron Murphy to play that defensive tackle slash edge role. Big guy, really explosive, fast. He's versatile. He's a versatile pass rush move. He's a very physical dude and a very athletic dude too. This is a nice position to have for New England. And then I'm actually gonna. This is actually not too bad of a draft to pick up a tight end for them. You know, depending on where you value us, is Hunter Henry a starting tight end or a backup for them? We could get the second best tight end projected in the draft, Jatavion Sanders, which will be a nice pickup for them, also out of Texas. In this case, I'll be assuming that Hunter Henry will be a depth piece for them and kind of signing their future tight end, the future starting tight end. At pick 104, there are really two things I kind of see here, whether it's linebacker or cornerback. Kind of looking at it, could go Trayvon Harper out of Missouri or Kalen King out of Penn State. This is a guy who played opposite of Joey Porter Jr. and who actually had a nice year. I think I will be going that to fill out their cornerback room. And then go Trice Knight, a guy who I've talked about out of UTEP, to fully fill out their starting roster. Like I said before, this isn't how I think the rest of their draft will go. It's just, or this offseason was just kind of with the information I'm given right now. And we'll kind of either we'll get rumors or we'll let the Patriots kind of sign players and stuff like that. Well, that also being said, they do need to finish out the rest of their linebacking core. Edufon, linebacker out of Washington, is a short but super athletic linebacker, which would be nice to have. And then I'll also draft again, like I drafted in the last draft, Omar, linebacker out of LSU, who produced nicely well to fill out this linebacking core. So the one thing I don't like about this offseason is they're bringing a relatively young linebacking core and actually do have an extra pick, which could be used to trade up if the Patriots really want to. And this is a new organization. There's a new head coach, so there are possibilities for that. Or they could draft a quarterback and then go the rest positions. That's also very possible. But like I said, the one thing I don't like is this is a relatively very young linebacking core. That's kind of a little sketchy to get into without having experience. Without actually have like a quality starter and then kind of building depth behind them, like young depth. But I mean, we'll see what happens. Other than that, let me know what y'all think about the Patriots. I think they have a very bright future right now. Let me know what y'all think, and let me know what y'all think about the free agency I kind of had for them and the two mock drafts I had for them. Other than that, I will talk to y'all later.